Today, we are once again talking about these fake Messi autographs because we have an update from The Athletic. An article was posted in the last 3 or 4 days that has an update from Fanatics, that has an update from PSA, and I want to bring it to you guys because this one is obviously a pretty spicy situation. This relates to a video that I put out about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, talking about some fake Messi autographs from Topps Finest Flashback Soccer, a set from 2022. That were ultimately deemed as being fake autographs by PSA. It was quite a messy situation, pun intended, and one that sort of left me a bit shocked, to be perfectly honest, because Topps didn't really do anything about it, right? We pressured them to get an answer. Nobody responded to me, but it seems we've finally got that. So I'm going to do a quick recap on what went down, what video I'm actually referring to, so you can go ahead and watch that after this, and then give you an update with what was, with regards to what was posted, I should say, by the Athletics article itself. Now, like I said, this relates to a video I put out a month ago, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, over here where we spoke about fake Messi autographs. And essentially it was in a Topps Finest product. And what we were doing, we're quoting this Reddit thread over here. Now, what was very disappointing about this whole situation is sort of the back and forth this poor person went through with PSA and then also with Topps. It was in fact relating to this Messi autograph. Now, what was interesting as part of this was that some of these cards were already graded by PSA, and they sort of went ahead and changed their minds when this one was submitted by this customer. Now, the mod, like we talked about in the last video, did a quick summary of the situation. So what they go on to say is that the original poster bought 2 boxes of Topps 2021-2022, Topps Finest Flashback Soccer. He hit this orange Messi autograph out of 10 with his son. I think it was a Christmas gift, so it was a pretty cool situation. Imagine, opening a box of cards with your kid and you hit one of the best cards you could ever pull. So pretty damn cool. They went ahead and sent it in to PSA, but it came back as authentic instead of a numerical grade. PSA told them that it was a mistake. It should have actually been graded. So they asked the original poster to send it back to them and also send it back in for DNA authentication, costing an extra $100. Weeks later, PSA called the customer and said the autograph was faked and that it was likely signed by Messi's brother. As we did explain in this video, there are a number of Panini cards signed by Messi in, I think, 2018, maybe a little bit earlier. Go back to that video because I quoted exactly. They were also rumored to have been signed by his brother. They are also confirmed to be fake. And looks like that this falls into that same basket. Now, what was very disappointing here was PSA sort of changed their language in how they approach the situation. They were no longer saying it was fake. They were simply saying they couldn't authenticate it. The original poster contacted Topps, who asked him to send the card in, but refused to guarantee a resolution since it was over a year old. What we talked about in that last video too was that Topps were only guaranteeing autographs within their product for up to 12 months since the release, which is utterly insane, right? The front of the card itself, as we did explain last time, says it is certified by Topps. The autograph is certified by them. But what Topps have told this customer is they're only going to stand by that. They're only going to give that guarantee for up to 12 months post the release, which is utterly insane. I went on a huge rant in that video because you're talking about products these days that are insanely expensive. They're expecting us to pay thousands of dollars for a box of cards to get something like this, right? Something high-end, something people want to chase, even though this set is not high-end. You get the point. It's a Messi autograph. They expect you to covet this kind of thing. They expect you to put it on a pedestal, but then they don't want to stand by their work, right? They don't want to stand by what they're charging you for, which is complete bullshit if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Now, PSA had 2 of this card in their population. One was a red out of 5 graded gem mint. The other is the same as what this person pulled themselves, i.e. the orange out of 10, graded gem mint with a PSA DNA authentication. PSA have since removed both of those cards from their population and have decertified them because they're saying these things are not authentic. Now, the reason why this whole situation was really dodgy before we get to this new article was that Topps sort of told the person they'd look into it, but we didn't really hear anything. I think there were some other rumors that they mentioned they were going to replace the card, but nothing ever seemed to eventuate, at least from what I could see by reading online. Now, this is obviously a really shitty situation because you would think a Messi autograph would be quite prestigious in their set, right? That's the highest end you can get when it comes to soccer players, that and Cristiano Ronaldo. So the fact there are question marks like this, where the largest third-party grader in this industry doesn't want to touch it, might make you as a business want to say, hey, let's get on the front foot and talk about this, or let's try and make it right by this customer, or let's go ahead and make an announcement to the public saying, you know what, we effed up, we can't certify these things. If you got one of these cards or you've bought one, send it in to us. We're going to go ahead and replace it for you, and we're actually going to film Messi signing these things. And that's sort of what you'd expect to be happening in a situation like this, but it didn't really happen, right? We have heard nothing until this article that I'm about to reference for you. Now, also very quickly, if you want to see, fake autos versus genuine autos, go ahead and check out the last video, like I said, because I put them on screen and show you some examples. But yeah, a really completely unacceptable situation. You'd expect a Tops in this situation sort of acknowledge they made the mistake and try and do the right thing. I think people can understand businesses making mistakes, especially when you understand how autographs are actually done, where Tops might not have even been there, right? They've outsourced the representation to see those autographs get signed to different people. We've talked about this before on the channel. So mistakes are going to happen. But the thing you sort of want to see is a business saying, you know what, we effed up, we're going to try and do the right thing by you, and put that public statement out there to try and win some goodwill with customers, rather than have everybody sort of sit back and say, hey, you guys stuffed up, but you're still not doing anything about it, right? Like, it's the lesser of the two evils to sort of acknowledge it up front is what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm rambling. This is the article that was posted on March 26th. It is currently March 29th in Australia, but it's technically March 28th in the US. So only a couple of days ago, and they sort of recap the situation that we just explained from this Reddit thread. And they talk about the fact of the price of the box. They talk about the price of the autograph and how it was a completely unacceptable situation. The thing that I think is interesting here is that they give some quotes to what was actually discussed with the PSA representative on the phone. I'm not going to talk you through that now. What I will talk you through is sort of what happened during the interview taking place. This seems a bit far-fetched, to be perfectly honest with you. But apparently during the interview, he received an email from Tops. Now, I'm not sure if The Athletic reached out to Tops saying, hey, we're interviewing this guy right here, right now. Get off your butt and do something about it. But apparently Tops emailed him in the middle of the interview. That's a pretty big coincidence. But Tops basically said they've spoken with PSA and they can remake this card for the customer with a new sticker autograph. And PSA has stated that they will authenticate it. A Tops collector supervisor wrote in that email. Bruce forwarded that to The Athletic, and he said, if you're interested in pursuing this resolution, I've attached a prepaid label for you to return this card to us, which is what Tops have said to him. When we receive the card, we'll begin the process of remaking your son's Lionel Messi card with a new sticker auto. So a pretty good outcome, but it shouldn't take it to get to this point for that to happen, right? The fact that PSA was already aware of this and already talking to Tops should have, pushed Tops to do the right thing in the first place. Bruce reacted to the email in real time during the interview. As he saw it, the company's decision to replace the card is an acknowledgement that this is fake, and is agreeing with PSA that the card is in fact fake. Tops and Fanatics, however, did not confirm that, which again is a really interesting situation. I'm sure there's legal reasons for why they've not gone ahead and done that, but if you're going to replace that one card in particular, it's sort of admitting fault in my mind. Maybe I'm off base, but you guys make up your own mind. What I thought was pretty damn interesting was that The Athletic sent questions to PSA President Ryan Hodge and Fanatics Collectibles / Top CEO Mike Mahan, I believe is how you pronounce his surname. Ryan Hodge gave a response, or Ryan Hodge, however it's pronounced, that they're currently working through this with Tops on this specific instance with a resolution in the works for occurrences such as these. We regularly work directly with manufacturers on solutions, on resolutions. In this case, we are able to have Tops send us the recreated card directly for us to complete the authentication and grading process, which I think is really cool. And this is something that PSA doesn't get enough props for lately. They're doing a really good job with stuff like this. People have accused me of being a PSA fanboy. I think go back and watch my comments, because what I just said there might get your ears pricked up and you might say, hey, Daniel, you're positive about PSA again, but 99% of my videos on PSA, I do shit on them, and rightfully so, but I'm happy to give them credit when it's due. What I thought was interesting, though, was that Ryan didn't respond to other questions. I think that's fair enough. The interesting piece is that Mr. Fanatics man Mike Mahan didn't respond to any of the questions. And then what it does say here is, through a Fanatics spokesperson, Mahan declined to comment on any of the questions sent via email by The Athletic, including Tops' position on PSA's not-authentic decision, why the company offered to remake the card, and whether Tops offers to remake every certified autograph card if PSA tabs the autograph as inauthentic, i.e., are they going to replace every other Messi in this set? And I would assume so. There's precedent set now for that to happen. I'm pretty curious. That was very fast talking for me, so I do apologize. I'm very curious just to see what happens next. I think this is a bit of an admission from Tops that they've made a mistake here, and there are maybe some fake autographs, at least some, in that set, if not all. I'm still very disappointed, obviously, that they've not come out and made a statement or made an announcement. Now, obviously, there's probably legal reasons for why that has not happened. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do, right? I think, like I said a bit earlier, they need to try and get some goodwill back with the community and say, hey, we effed up. We want to do the right thing here. We're going to publicly put this out there to say, this happened. We think somebody signed autographs as fake, and we're going to go after the athlete and the person that said they were going to oversee these to say, what the heck happened? Now, to sort of take a step back, if you're new to the channel and are not sure how these autograph signing sessions typically work, what happens is, more often than not these days, because there are so many athletes all over the world, rather than Tops or Panini sending athletes to go ahead and oversee these things for themselves, or rather than get athletes to come into one location, it's more affordable for them. It's more efficient to say, hey, your agent, or we're going to send a representative in a local state that's already there. They're going to sign this contract with us. They're going to agree to oversee every single signature that you're signing. They're going to certify that what you're doing is genuine. They're going to say it's all correct. There's no fraud. There's no hanky-panky. Then you're going to sign them and we're going to go off that person's guarantee. Now, what's obviously happened in the past with a number of athletes is that the person that's gone ahead and observed it is someone that could be a family member. It could be an agent of the player. So therefore, they may be not independent to the situation. What do I mean when I say independent? I mean they're maybe not going to hold the athlete accountable for doing the wrong thing because they're either friends or family with the person or they've got a working relationship with them. So what's happened is because you've had that almost corrupt situation, that corrupt system, it's really easy, or it has been easy. There's been an incentive there that exists for athletes to not go ahead and sign them. It's to get their friends to do them. It's going ahead and getting auto pens done, like we've seen with Dak Prescott in the past, if I remember correctly. And stuff like this with this Messi. Now, obviously, we cannot prove that his brother signed them, but there are enough fake autographs out there that this looks like very much them, and the fact that PSA is not signing them, and they've come out and themselves said maybe it's his brother, i.e. his agent, that's gone ahead and done it, is pretty damning as well. So, obviously, share your thoughts on this one down below. I think it's great that we've got a bit of an update from PSA. I think it's great that The Athletic have talked about this because we need more pressure put on these businesses. This is completely unacceptable in 2025. I'll say it again. You cannot be charging customers thousands of dollars for these boxes and then going ahead and having a situation like this where you can have the top end card within that set be fake or be frauded in some capacity. Like, that's not okay. You cannot have a situation like that at all because you're sort of ripping off your customers. Then you want to go ahead and say, hey, we're only going to stand by it for 12 months. That's insane. That's insane. So it's good for this guy that Topps are going to go ahead and replace it and work with PSA to make it happen. My question would be, well, are you going to do that for every other customer? And my other question would be, get off your bloody ass, come out and make a public statement and say, hey, this is what happened. We own it. We're going to try and be better, but we're putting this out there because we want to be better. So anyway, that's my rant for today. Apologies for rambling as always. Please share your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think about this situation. Let me know what you think about Topps in this situation. And let me know whether or not you'd read the Athletic article. Because I think the more that this stuff becomes mainstream, the better the industry will be long term. You know, guys, I'm usually a pessimist with how these businesses operate because I want them to be doing the right thing. But what's disappointing here is that we don't see enough pressure put on them. And I know I was just sort of closing out the video. The thing I want to say, Geoff Wilson talked about this on his video, on one of his videos not long after I did this myself. And what's really shitty about that, right, is that there are so many people at the forefront of this industry that are willing to sort of talk about the easy stuff, but only when it's easy to do so or only when it suits them best. And Geoff, with the platform that he has, with the amount of connections he has at all these manufacturers, at all these big businesses, the fact that he couldn't push his hard enough himself to make this sort of happen 4 weeks ago is completely unacceptable. And it just goes to how many clowns are actually operating in this space that you think are there to do the right thing by the industry. And I know Geoff has had a lot of accusations in the past, and I've grilled him for a lot of things, rightfully so, that he's done that's shady and dodgy and unacceptable. But you need to be holding these guys more accountable. And what's sort of been happening is all these people at the forefront that have the biggest channels, that have the biggest platforms, that have the biggest influencer accounts are in bed with these companies. They're not pushing hard enough. And we've seen that time and time again, in particular with the whole whatnot situation from Geoff Wilson as well. So I didn't want to turn this into a shitting on Geoff Wilson situation. But you guys get that point as well. He's got that platform. He could have done something about this. He could have pushed harder. He could have been talking about this in every single video until he got an answer. But you know what? He doesn't want to do that because he only wants the shock and awe. He only wants the clicks. He's only here to get your attention and your money. And if he cared more, he would have pushed harder. So anyway, that's my rant. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.